Welcome to the Law of One, spiritual and metaphysical teachings of unity of the creation and the love and light of our one infinite Creator. Sunday Meditation, July 27th, 1986. Conscious channeling of LL Research. Blessings. We're presented with a group question. There's a quote from a session from Leema. They said, "The critical mass for achieving fourth density as a group is nearly reached." Please explain, qualify, nearly, time frame, etc., please. And how large is the group? Total population, harvestable entities, non-harvestable entities. Also, how does this affect planetary geological shifts? And specifically, what should we do to maximize the harvest? What is the most important work that light workers can do at this time to maximize the harvest? I am Leema, and I greet you, my friends, in the love and in the light of the one infinite Creator. It is our great privilege and blessing to be with you this evening, and we thank you for calling us to your group. You would wish to know more about a statement that we have made to the effect that the critical mass for harvest has been nearly reached. We are pleased to share with you what we can. Needless to say, there are those things which we are not able to share with you due to the law of free will, also known as the law of confusion. What we have to offer, we offer with hopes that you will, as always, assume our opinion to be just that, and in no way given the cachet of divine or irresistible knowledge. We would first extricate the question of the harvest of souls from an inevitable link with massive topological changes which shall occur in what your geologists call the tectonic plate structure of your planet. It is understandable that you should link the many disasters which have been predicted by so many sources and the phenomenon of harvest, which likewise has been predicted by so many sources. There is a relationship, and yet it is not a compelling one. And the relationship is one of interest more for its synchronicity than for its inevitability. The relationship is one of cause and effect, in that the thinking of the consciousness of this planetary sphere has been, over a period of your time, much confused. There has been hostility and anger amongst your people on a nearly steadily state basis for all of your modern, shall we say, time. And by that we mean that period of your time which is covered by written history. This has caused within your earth a disease, a pressure, and what you may think of as a heat or fever, which must be cooled. The venting of this energy must take place in some manner, and there are those, both in your inner planes and your outer planes, which have for some time been attempting to withhold the time of greatest trauma to the planet until an area of space can be cleared in which the negative emissions following such a venting of negative energy may be consumed by those who prefer negative energy, so that the free will of others in your celestial neighborhood shall not be abridged. It is, it seems, among your people a matter of great interest to know precisely when this occurrence shall transpire. We note that it is as much a process as an occurrence, and has already begun to some extent. We are not at this time aware of a state of readiness for this event amongst those who are attempting to aid in the name of those whose free will would be abridged. Therefore, we would project the positive hope and faith that the greater magnitude of this event shall be between 2 and 3 decades of your time in coming. It is to be noted in this regard that this does not signal the arrival of the so-called New Age or Fourth Density. It is important we feel to note this, for many have linked the two as cause and effect, whereas to the best of our knowledge there is no direct cause and effect relationship. They are concomitant events or processes. We feel that this perhaps frees us to speak about the true question, which is the coming of the fourth density. As we have said, your planet vibrates already in fourth density, and the time does indeed draw near for entities with fourth density physical vehicles to begin incarnating upon the level of physical manifestation. Indeed, many among your small children have incarnated with what you may call the double body of third density and fourth density. And by and large, this hybrid, doubly activated physical manifestation shall continue for some time in your probable future. The time extending somewhere between 1 and 8 centuries. And please don't quote us, because those of Ra say that the probability for transition is between 100 and 700 years. So please understand we're trying to give you a general idea. You will note that we cannot pin down time. Firstly, we find it difficult to quantize that which occurs in time-space, for quantization is a space-time concept. Secondly, we cannot predict what entities in free will accomplish or fail to accomplish during any very lengthy time period. It is not wise to make assumptions unless one has been given clear vision. And although we have opinions, they range more towards the probabilities involved than any specific knowledge. We would be less than acceptable teachers were we to offer to you that which even we know to be unsubstantiated opinion. All that we say is opinion, but we trust substantiated opinion. Therefore, my friends, the time frame for those in third density physical vehicles attempting to graduate is perhaps as short as 3 decades, perhaps as long as 15. It depends upon how many entities are able to use increasing quantities of fourth density light vibration. For as we said, this movement into the new fourth density area of space-time, which vibrates in a new fashion, shall be one which is gradual and which takes much of your time to occur fully. However, we feel that it is safe to recommend that each entity which has decided to attempt to increase the rate of spiritual, mental, and emotional evolvement behave as if this were the last chance to achieve a harvestable vibration, for in that way you shall give to your effort all that it deserves. Indeed, my friends, this is the only reason that the concept of reincarnation was removed from what you term the Christian Church and its teachings. It was recognized that there was a human characteristic known as procrastination. It was recognized that a harvestable amount of love would take an utmost effort over several or perhaps many incarnations. Therefore, if each entity who was within this structure believed that there was only one chance to achieve love, each entity would attempt with every fiber of his or her being to do so. Now, each of you has many incarnations already finished, and yet you know that you are here either to graduate or to help with graduation. And if you are a wanderer helping with graduation, yet also you must graduate, for you have put yourself within the physical vehicle in an incarnational experience, and it is as much your duty as a naturalized citizen of your earth to achieve harvest as it is any other person. Never think that wanderers are necessarily missionaries who may go home. My friends, you are now natives of Earth until you have graduated again to your native density. Therefore, under no circumstance assume that the lessons of love are not those which must be learned by you. The question of the numbers of entities to be harvested and the number not harvested comes before those of the Confederation frequently, and we hasten to remind each that, because of free will, the numbers can only be approximate. Approximately 8 to 9% of your population at this time, that is somewhere in the area of 360 million people, this instrument is telling us we may have slipped a digit. We do not scan that phrase. However, we understand percentage, and that is percentage, may already be harvested, given that between this reading and the event of each entity's leaving incarnational experience and entering into the light, each entity remains at harvestable levels of service to others or service to self. In addition, there are many entities who, although they are aware that their lives in incarnation may not be very long, are willing and eager to make one more attempt to graduate. Thus, you have, being born at this time, many strong and sometimes disruptive entities who are old souls desperately in search of the lifting of a veil which is felt but not understood. As children, they will sometimes seem older, sometimes incredibly young, but always strong, willful, and very much each her own person. These entities will polarize with the determination of streamrollers, and it should be an interesting generation upon your planet. Interesting alike for those who bear them and for them themselves. It is completely unknown, and shall we say, even odd, that all of these entities shall or shall not graduate. Therefore, we prefer not to give a percentage, but only advise each who considers the bearing of children that it is a service to many an old soul, and in addition a service to those pioneers of fourth density vibration that shall be the nucleus of the beginning of fourth density on this planet, that being a positive fourth density as already determined by the fact that you are very near critical mass for a harvest. Now we reach the heart of the question. When something achieves a critical mass, a given reaction begins. In this case, the mass necessary to be reached has, as its desired result, of a social memory complex. An approximate 10% of a population able to enter vibrations to fourth density levels within the self, and moreover, able and willing to form a larger self and offering the self to the group identity as necessary. We do not mean to suggest that the other entities, hitherto unharvestable, shall then be positively harvestable. For each entity chooses its own time of harvest, and neither darkness or light shall be thrust upon any third density entity any more than the darkness and the light shall be released from any entity in sixth density. However, what makes this planet remain populated by its natives of third density in the next density is this critical mass of natives which are able to form the nucleus of that group which then shall become the Earth, as you call it, social memory complex. We do not mean to suggest that Earth has a name you do not know, although we call it sorrows, and others have called it many other things. It is a systematical thing to name a vibration or cluster of vibrations, and there is a vibration Earth which should be offered irrevocably should a native population from another system choose this planetary sphere for its fourth density experience in the absence of a critical mass of native fourth density entities? Now, having just said, it seems only logical to assume that each wishes to know what is best to do to create a harvestable condition within oneself and to manifest on behalf of others, and for others' choice, if they wish it, a way of suggesting the search for harvestability in each. Now, you know, my friends, that we have again and again suggested that you meditate. Meditation is not blank and lifeless in nature, but rather is a medium for transformation, enlivening a struggle for clarity, centering, balancing, searching out from within the self those things which lie behind the veil of consciousness, and yet are within the deep mind. We cannot speak to any excess about the importance of meditation. In this regard, it is interesting to gaze upon what you call the Lord's Prayer, with which this instrument opens each meditation meeting of this light group. As each of you says this, what this instrument would call ancient prayer, there are energies moving within which may or may not be felt by each. That is because it is true prayer, and we would offer to you our understanding of the basic pattern of meditation or prayer. The first action is a turning in praise, a statement that the Creator is hallowed, honored, set aside, and venerated. As each is the Creator, this is the highest self-acceptance possible. The second request is for authority to be given to those things of the Creator which are desired by, shall we say, the more polarized of outlook. When one says, "Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven," one requests that the little self listen to the greater self. It is an acknowledgement that humankind is not immune to mistakes or folly, and a further acknowledgement of faith in a higher and more informed way of being, and further an affirmation that this way of being is knowable and may be revealed within each seeker's life. There is a request for the so-called daily bread. Notice that the request is minimal. Within this request is an unspoken emphasis on demand. Note that there is no shame in asking for what you wish, for anything that you wish, as long as it is the will of the Creator, or to put it in more personal terms, the higher self. Indeed, if one examines the portion of the Holy Book you call the Bible in which the passage occurs, you will find the parable of the man who knocks upon his neighbor's door in the middle of the sleeping period, in your nighttime, demanding food for a guest which has unexpectedly come. The neighbor does not wish to get up and answer the door, and yet, because of the shameless continuing of the knocking upon the door, eventually the neighbor gets up and gives the host anything and everything that he needs. This is the nature of that portion of yourself which you bring to meditation. There are things troubling you. Accept yourself in your troubled mode and ask as you go into meditation that every load be dropped from you. Do not phrase it in petty words, but speak clearly. And as you go into silence, expect, for you have demanded that you shall be given that which you need wherewith to cause those burdens to be acceptable. It is not that the Creator does things for one who is honest about needs. It is that the Creator does things with the one who is in honest need and asks. Seek and you shall find is a true and successant statement of this principle. The fourth request is that each entity may be forgiven for being imperfect, just as each entity shall forgive any errors or debts made against him by others. This is simple bargaining. It is a simplistic way of saying, has it ever occurred to you, seekers, that you are all one, and that you have the power of forgiveness for all those about you, just as you feel the Creator has the power to forgive you? You see, my friends, you are the judge of everyone you meet, and insofar as you hold people guilty, there is difficulty for that person as well as for you. I am Leema, and again we shall attempt to conclude this somewhat long-winded peroration. We thank you for your patience. As it is written in the same holy work from which we discuss the Lord's Prayer, the teacher known to you as Jesus instructed entities to be innocent as doves and wily as serpents. It is most important to be both of these things: innocent, loving, joyous, courageous, and foolhardy, and at the same time, ruthless inspectors of the self to determine between those means which are acceptable to achieve an end and those ends which are unacceptable to achieve an end. For my friends, it is our fixed opinion that no end justifies improper means. This is the area of temptation. Most of the temptation among your peoples has to do with what you call ego, and what is in fact a complex of attitudes concerning the self with regard to other entities, to groups of other entities, and to larger divisions such as nation-states, which have been useful and in the future shall be less than useful tools for learning. Each of these 5 points are parts of a pattern of attributes which make up a framework for meditation. There is 1, a basic attitude of faith; 2, of praise; 3, of unashamed statements of need, of conversation, in fact; 4, a request to be forgiven as one forgives; And 5, a recognizing of the presence of temptation and of the strong probability that even though an entity may not know of any error, yet nevertheless there may well have been in each entity's recent past an accumulation of unknown errors which are deliberately affirmed as forgiven. So there is 1, declaration of self, and 2, its needs. 3, a recognition of the inevitable answer to each need. 4, a praise for existence, and 5, for the source of consciousness, which in some becomes a kind of cleansing that prepares an entity for the silence. For in the silence you do not pose questions, but listen for inspiration. Indeed, sometimes the greatest result of meditation is a refining of the proper questions. The greatest work that any can do at this time to maximize the potential for critical mass being achieved by harvest is, then, the personal dedication to the life of a contemplative who is also connected vitally with the environment which she lives. That is, once gifts have been given to the seeker, it is then its responsibility to manifest those gifts in actions, in thoughts, and in intentions. Not necessarily by dramatic efforts such as becoming a pilgrim upon a dusty path, for there are many, many entities whose lives have touched hundreds or thousands of people by the simple beauty of their presence. There are those who have chosen to be the mothers and fathers of very needful souls, and who have generated more positivity and light from the planetary consciousness by this activity, humble though it may seem, as the mother and father are doing the dishes, than the entrepreneur who goes upon the road, feeling that it has found the answer. Yes, those who speak to many, many people may well give their message to many. But that message, if impure, will slide off the back of those who are seeking a pure enough truth to be harvestable. Therefore, never judge yourself as not manifesting that which you have learned in meditation because you are not doing something dramatic. Remember that each person is the creator, and that you will do that which is given you by your higher self, either well or poorly. If you do something poorly, you will do it again and again until you get it correct. This is the nature of the higher self's method of providing the catalyst which has been decided upon prior to incarnation. However, take yourselves seriously, my friends. Serious enough to be serious about joy, to be serious about peace, to be serious about love. We hope that you may discover the joy that lies within tears and sorrow when one has the knowledge of greater horizons and greater cycles, that each one may experience the peace within difficult times as one discovers that one is not alone, but may share each burden, the love which is not cloying or sentimental, but creative and transformative, in other words. The state of divine unrest, which is the ceaseless changing reality, shall we say, of one who is on the path and striving to realize oneness with the infinite Creator. Never let the knowledge of your own seeming imperfections cause you to be cynical about your divinity or the importance of your self-realization of it. Look for it in yourself, not just in other people. In conclusion, we shall say to those who are already light workers upon the path that in a more intensive learning situation it is most helpful first to achieve the ability to be solitarily happy, and then to work towards the sharing of your path with at least one other person. In the majority of cases, this one other person is the mate, and it was for this reason that so many entities have attributed, in all honesty, their achievements to the love of the mate, for indeed, two who seek together shall always be more balanced than one who seeks alone. And to go further, perhaps you have wondered why there is an almost unignorable call to live in community with others at this time, and indeed for 2 of your millennia. My friends, this is due to the nascent art to create the social memory complex, and it is again a very helpful mode to achieve harmoniously. It is very difficult for entities who have finally learned to be self-reliant, shall we say, to then make what seems to be a backward turn towards reliance upon others. And yet, it is a celebration of the unity of oneself with others which impels sensitive entities towards a communal life. More hands means more potential. More hearts and minds working in unison towards the same desire mean that each prayer, each praise, each thanksgiving is more powerful and holds more promise to those who are prayed for, who are loved, and for whom each community wishes to do its work. We recommend contemplation of that which we have said before further questions are asked, as this is a large subject, and we have compressed much material due to the limitations upon this instrument speaking and your hearing, and this instrument just flashed to us in mind her bottom. Therefore, we shall at this time wish you largely a more and more successful attempt to discipline the self to meditation, a recommendation that you observe the pattern with which you enter meditation, and to recommend further that you cultivate within yourselves a faith in the power of meditation, and a hope, a knowledge, shall we say, of the promise which we suggest meditation and prayer and contemplation hold for you. We are your brothers and sisters of Leema, and consider it a great honor to be asked to join you. Our blessings upon each of you, our love and the Creator's go with you. We leave you in all that there is, the love and the manifestation of love of the one infinite love, which is the Creator. Adone, my friends, Adone Vasu Baragas.